Every hour, our skin is making 200 million skin cells every hour, each hour. And so it is one of the fastest dividing cells in the body. Today, I want to talk about how precious that is for us and how it's important for us to protect that in our functioning as human beings. My name is Djanie, and I am an advanced hair, scalp and skin practitioner in Leicester. I run a studio where I help people fix their hair, scalp and skin issues. I also consult with professionals to help them perfect their systems within their businesses. I have courses and coaching for people who are needing guidance from a distance. And this is just one of the things that I do. I have to do a bit of housekeeping and say that I am not a doctor, I'm not a GP, and I am not your doctor. And so everything that I discuss here is for educational purposes. If you're needing assistance and guidance, go and see a professional or go and see a medical practitioner who, and those people who know what they're talking about. So today's agenda, I have mentioned that we will be talking about the functions of the skin. We'll be talking about the relevance of nails in trichology, in ensuring that we sort of look at some of the signs that helps us to identify some issues that go on within the skin, within the hair. I'll be talking about things to do with trying to get your hair in a very good natural state by observing certain natural habits that might help you, and how to do those nicely and kindly in a way that it doesn't affect you gravely. So the treatments I offer within my business is really something that I have devised myself that helps people from a place of compassion and kindness. So I help clients where they are in achieving what they're looking for, where they are. The idea isn't to, be unkind and harsh in delivering some of the truth, but really, I say that even if you turn down your heating level on your appliances, for example, by 10%, you're being kinder to your hair. If you start to observe some of the practices and things that I talk about here, you already will start to feel the benefits straight away. And so any level of reduction or abstaining from certain measures and certain practices will already be a kinder way of dealing with your hair, scalp and skin. And so that kindness and compassion is what I seek to promote within my business and the message that I put across. So I mentioned that every hour, our skin, our bodies are making 2 million cells every hour on average. Okay. And it's important that we're really looking after that. We're looking after our system by feeding our skin with diets that is packed full with nutrients that's going to help to feed those cells in our bodies. That is important because our skin and hair are two of the most dividing cells within the body. Okay, so they're the most dividing cells, means that they are the most regenerative cell within our bodies. So they're recovering and rejuvenating and repairing so quickly by dividing. That is the process that we call mitosis scientifically. But what it means for us on layman's terms is it's just that if you have any cuts or grazes, for example, you can see progressively how the recovery process is taking place. And so you notice that the skin starts to build its own layers, and that layer right underneath the scab before the scab is removed, that action that occurs that seals over that skin is what we call mitosis, and that's what mitotic action is happening, and we're having active cell division. So the hair also does similarly. It's really good at dividing, but it does so really at the matrix, at the bulb of the hair. I'm just going to get my trusted model and come back. I notice that nobody's here yet, so I can do that quickly. I've got a lovely assistant who has passed it on to me. Thank you. So I didn't need to get up. What do we have children for if they can't help us when we're trying to get our work done? So cell division, mitosis happening on a cellular level on the skin, but within the hair, it happens right here. This area is where the matrix is and where cell division happens. Okay, this is when the cell divides itself into two daughter cells and multiplies that way. That is what is happening right here, where we have blood feeding into that matrix in the hair bulb, into the hair follicle, right? So we've got the hair follicle, which is all this area, but really mitotic action happens in the matrix right there. Okay, and that's where the cell is dividing. And so the reason why it's important for us to be looking after ourselves is so that we can harness that beautiful opportunity to get the best out of our bodies. So if you're getting mitotic action occurring, I've got my sister who's misbehaving, I've got my daughter who's encouraging it, and I'm trying to go live, and this is just my family all together. Yeah, this is my life. Okay. But it is great because they get to hear everything and they naturally also get to absorb the information that I'm giving. So if you see me giggling and laughing, it's just because my family are just so unserious, and we have a laugh and it's great. So no problems there whatsoever. I shan't apologize because it's family life. But yes, we were talking about mitotic action in the skin and in the hair, and why that is important. Because our hair and skin are the fastest, most dividing cells in the body, it's really quite important that we feed it. Okay, the only way we can feed those two things is by making sure that we're looking after ourselves from within. We're making sure we're eating diets that are packed with nutrients, vitamins, and minerals, nutritional things that are really going to help us get that beautiful word that I used, which is immuno privilege. So becoming immune privilege means that the automatic rights that you have within your immunity, you're holding on to it. So you're holding on to that, and you're perhaps even increasing that level of privilege that you normally have. Okay, so immunity is fairly simple in the way that I explain it. It's as though we've got security guards at certain checkpoints in our bodies, and what they do is they stand there and they kind of check people in and check people out. Most of the time they're letting toxins and bacteria and certain things and stopping them and letting them not come in, and they let the better things that we like for our bodies, like antioxidants and such, to come in and do their goodness. I've just got a message here. Hi, Mark. How are you? I hope you're enjoying this. I hope this is helping you somewhat. So we're making sure that we are looking after ourselves so that we can harness that beautiful, what we call the immune privilege. So we've got the privilege that we naturally have inherited, but also we are looking for the privilege that we can perhaps encourage, okay? Or we don't want to lose the privilege that we naturally have got. So what God has given us, we want to keep, we want to look after it, and we want to strengthen it or even introduce other beneficial factors within that. Yeah, so that's the immunoprivileges that I'm trying to look at today, talking to you today. Okay, so our bodies are so intelligent in that our bodies are great in directing nutrients to the areas that it needs it most. So our bodies will go in and say, right, so this is your lungs, this is your heart, this is your lymphatic system, this is this, and it will aim to look after that first with the nutrients that you give it, right? But bearing in mind that I mentioned that the hair and skin is the fastest cell dividing components of our bodies, the body feeds that last. Although it is the fastest, it feeds that last. So I want you to imagine, if you're not giving your body enough, how would it reach those areas of your skin and hair? We need to make sure that we're feeding our bodies enough nutrients. Bearing in mind that our bodies are making 200 million skin cells in every hour. Once every hour in the day, that is what is happening. And those 200 million skin cells is happening in the skin, which will also be happening to the hair because they kind of live together. Okay, that ecosystem includes the skin and the hair. Okay, so we make sure that we prioritize nutrients. We're making sure that we're eating the right amount of nutrients so that our organs, our brains, our livers, and everything like that will get the best that it needs. And then we can also have surpluses that we can introduce to our skin and hair. Okay, so nutritional things that we do is to make sure that we're looking at the body in a holistic manner, ensuring that we're looking at you from the inside out so that you can really benefit altogether. So we approach this looking at every single area of your life and trying to make sure that we include that in the plan that we have for you. Okay, so I want to talk about the functions of the skin. Okay, so apart from the fact that it is the most fastest dividing cell in the body, we need to make sure that we understand what it does for us. So when you're looking after your skin, I need you to be thinking positively about it because of all the important things that it does for you. So your skin is protection for your body. It is so good at making sure that it protects your skin, your body from mechanical damage. Okay, so injuries, for example, things has to go past your skin to get to certain areas of your body to harm you. So your skin is brilliant at giving you that protection from mechanical and injuries that would occur to you ordinarily. Also, it is waterproof in nature because if it wasn't waterproof, we would if we walked out into the rain, we would absorb the rain and become mushy and just filled with water. But as much as it is also waterproofing, it also has absorption properties. So it's able to absorb things, nutrients from the elements or from certain things like minerals and things like that. So the magnesium is one that is so great at making sure that you don't lose that through stress. The magnesium is one of the first things that we lose through stress. But when we make sure that we soak our bodies in, say, magnesium flakes, for example, our bodies has this beautiful ability to absorb that into the body. But at the same time, it also is waterproofing. Mind blowing. It prevents moisture loss, and that is where the waterproofing situation comes in the fact that it helps to build that lovely barrier between moisture loss and also getting you moisture in. So moisture gaining and moisture loss, the skin is just amazing. I need you to start thinking about those things when you're looking after your skin, and that it is actually there to protect you. It has a function. It isn't just something that we get to rub a few things on here and there and then we keep it going. But really, what it's there is there to help you live your life, right? And it's a great synthesis for vitamin D because of the fact that vitamin D, as I've mentioned before, we need to attract that from the rays, from the sun, and it's a provitamin. The skin helps us to synthesize that. It reduces the harmful effect of UV rays. So, as much as we can get skin damage from exposure to UV rays, the skin itself also is so good at making sure that it absorbs what it needs and what it doesn't need. It actually really is good at protecting itself naturally. We just need to help it along the way. And when it's doing that, by making sure that we're using our sun protections, whether through sunscreen or taking supplements internally to help us with that. Okay, and I've mentioned before, the skin has the three layers. We've got the epidermis, the dermis, and the subcutaneous layer. So I'm just going to quickly go through that. When I talk about the dermis, I'm talking about here, the thicker area, the subcutaneous layer slightly below, and then we've got the epidermis right at the top. Okay. So these are words that I will be thrown around quite a lot, and it's nice for us to know what I'm talking about when I talk about this. All of this is to make sure that you become your own scientist, okay? You become aware of things that are happening to you so that you become more inquisitive and perhaps embark on a research about yourself, about your body and how your body functions. And then when you're aware of these things, you can choose wisely, pick certain things correctly to make sure that you're looking after your body entirely, in a holistic manner, right? And so by talking about the skin's absorption properties, the fact that it has the capability to absorb, but at the same time, it's also good at preventing moisture loss, I would like to talk about certain ingredients, how to look at things that are good for you. Okay, so we know that our skin is able to absorb moisture or absorb nutrients or absorb the sun, the UV rays. We are fully aware of that. And if the skin is fully able of absorbing all those things, we must be mindful of the things that we put on our skin, because eventually it will end up within our system. As much as it may happen at a slow rate, it is still happening nonetheless. We just must be careful of how we look after our skin. So the advice I give clients and patients when they come in, if you have been advised about the toxicity levels of certain ingredients, when you look at the back of a product, I tell people to turn the product. So the front of the product is for marketing. That's to attract you and get you to buy the product, okay? That is the strategy. The back of the product, is to teach you what is in that product, is to tell you about that product, the suitability of that product to you, or the health benefits of that product to you, or how kind that product is to you, or the toxicity levels of that product to you. This is the information you find at the back. So you need to be intellectuals in the way that you look at things so that you can get the best out of what you're doing. Ultimately, God is the decider of everything. God is the one that actually helps us, in our lives, in everything we do. But what we can do, the little we can do, is to try and help ourselves to better, prevent ourselves from getting ill, or looking after ourselves better so that we can remain well and, well and alive. Okay. So looking at the back of products is so good because you've got all the information at the back, but we're not just going to look at the products alone or the ingredients alone. We're going to turn the back of the product where the marketing information is no longer there. This is what the legal requirements are for the brands to actually list the products and the ingredients that they've put in that formulation for the purpose that they've mentioned. So any ingredients you see right at the top is the one that is at the most highest ratio. So the most highest percentage of products remain at the top, right? So the first 3 to 5 to 8 ingredients that you see are going to have the highest levels of that particular ingredient in there. So if the product at the back says it's got water in there, or aqua or agua, whatever the language is, it means it's got water in there, but it has got the highest amount of water, which most likely means that the product has got water, but with other things in it. So the base, the carrier of the product is water, and then it's got other things in there. So it's not an oil base, it's a water-based product. So if the first ingredient is oil, it is an oil-based product. So it's an oil base with other things in there. Okay, so we need to be mindful of what we're looking at. Yeah, so the body is great and the skin is wonderful at doing all these functions for us. It helps to protect us from harm and damage and injury. It helps to regulate our temperature when we're cold. It helps to keep us warm. When we're warm, it helps to cool us down. It's good at synthesizing vitamin D for us. It is great at helping us absorb nutrients and things from the external way in. It is great to basically help us prevent moisture loss. So it's got waterproofing features, but it's also got absorption features. So it's a very clever component within our bodies that we need, or anatomy that we have within our bodies that we need to protect. Okay, and we spoke about mitosis and how the cell division is happening within the hair and the skin, and how important that is, because it's the fastest dividing cell. We need to be looking after it. We need to be feeding our bodies well enough so that we can feed the nutrients that the body needs, so that any excess we have can go and shoot out into the skin and feed the skin and the hair and the scalp. Okay, so it's a very important anatomy. Our skin is so important. These are the things that it does for us. Okay. So I also want to discuss that hair and skin changes. Okay, we notice a change in our hair and skin, it can happen instantly. So you can have a situation where just overnight something has happened, or you feel that overnight something has happened and your hair has changed. I guarantee that usually isn't the case, where something happened, say, the night before, and you notice a change the following day. That's highly unlikely. It normally takes about 6 months on average for us to start noticing changes that has happened within our system, within our hair, for us to notice physically a physical change or a cosmetic significance change in your hair. That needs to have happened about 6 months prior. Okay, for us to notice that significant cosmetic change within our hair, that change occurred, or that trauma occurred, roughly about 6 months prior. Okay. I've got my sister misbehaving still. Yes. If you've got family and they misbehave and they're unserious, let me know. Just put it in the chat. You can't be serious around these people, but I insist. And I think somewhere in the background, someone can see her, and I really hope that someone can. But she's really misbehaving. She's older than me, and she misbehaves all the time. Okay, so the hair changes can occur very quickly. Within, like I say, around 6 months-ish. We say that that's when we expect that any trauma that has happened to you transpires and becomes evident physically. But the skin also can do the same, right? It also can change quickly. Obviously, if you've had an injury to the skin, you'll notice a change in the skin straight away. If you've used something on the skin and it has reacted so quickly, that can also occur very, very instantly because you've used something that is highly abrasive, or your hair hasn't got the resistant factors that we have. That's my message is trying to teach. Building that resistance in the skin, your skin may not have that resistance yet. And so anything that you apply to your skin topically may have a reaction to the skin straight away. But on average, skin typing, really, we notice the change in your skin itself as a type, as a skin type, roughly around between 6 to 8 years, and it's the same with the hair. Even if you've endured some hair loss conditions, when the hair grows back, it most likely grows back as it was, so within the same condition as it was before. However, roughly around 8 years periods, you notice that there is a dramatic change in your hair itself, because obviously you are growing, aging is occurring, cell division or mitosis is slowing down a little bit. As we've explained before, mitosis is the cell division that is occurring in the skin and the hair. We know that that happens on the skin layer, when you've scratched yourself or you've injured yourself and you get that fine skin, kind of sealing over that wound, and then right under the scab. That is what we call cell division. That is what we call mitosis. Mitosis is occurring. The cell is dividing very, very fast to heal. So this is what we spoke about, that the skin is healing in terms of protecting you from injury and things like that. Okay, so your hair will change every sort of 6 to 8 years. Expect some changes. But if it does, it doesn't mean that you can't have great hair nonetheless. For example, the perfect example I say is gray hair. So if you gray, so you didn't have gray hair before, and suddenly your hair is grayed, say over a period of 5 years or so, all that has happened is we've just lost the melanocyte cells. So the melanocyte cells have just decreased or has been removed right here in the matrix of the hair bulb. This is the hair, and that is the follicle. This is the hair bulb, and the matrix right here is the sweet spot. That's where cell division happens. That's where nutrients is being filled to the hair and growth occurs. And so the melanocyte cells, which is the pigment is the color of the hair or the skin. Those cells that give us the color of the hair and the skin, or rather the hair in this case, exist right here. And so when you're graying and you've got gray hairs, those melanocyte cells have just lost their pigment. Okay, so that is a significant change in the hair. So when I say the hair changes, this is one of them. The fact that you're going to lose pigment in your hair is a change that we can record as a significant change over a period of time. Okay. So because there are changes within the hair, it's important that you also adapt your protocol to fit those changes. It's important that you adapt those protocols at home to fit those changes within your repertoire at home. Okay, so if you suddenly found that you're graying and your hairs are becoming white, and perhaps it's become toughened or resistant or very stiff and not flexible, you need to start looking at using the right kind of shampoos to soften, and the right kind of conditioners to soften those cuticle layers, because that's what happens to gray hairs. Gray hairs becomes toughened and they become quite rigid, and so you'll notice that your colors don't last as long. You can't get color to get into the skin, into the hair as easily as it used to be. And you start to struggle with certain things like moisture retention and things like that. So one of the changes that is significant in the hair is the fact that you start to lose pigment in your hair at the matrix of the hair bulb, and that starts to reveal itself in the way that you notice that your colors don't last as long, or the hair becomes drier and so rigid. And so being able to adapt the way that you look after your hair is so important. So if you're using one shampoo for a very long time and suddenly you find that the shampoo is not working anymore, it is not that your hair has become used to it. It is just that your hair has changed, because the hair will change. You as a human being will change. Okay? So that is what has happened. It's not that the shampoo is no longer working or your hair is used to, well, rather, it's not that your hair and skin is used to that product. It's just that you've moved to a different area of your mitotic, cell division, and you as a human being have evolved, and you're moving over to the next stage of your life, and so you need the right products to complement that. So let's not be so rigid in the way that we look after our hair, scalp, and skin. When changes occur, we need to make sure that we are adapting and we're able to meet those needs, or the current needs of our hair, scalp, and skin. So it's important every so often to go and see a professional who can analyze your hair and scalp and your skin to make sure that you're going to, or the products you're buying are going to work effectively. So what I sometimes advise clients is that if you've finished a bottle of shampoo and conditioner and you're about to get the next shampoo and conditioner, just ask a professional, is this still okay? Is my hair still all right? You just do a quick consultation, or perhaps give me a treatment that will help me, or help you to analyze my hair to make sure that it's okay for me to move on to the next stage of products that I'm buying. There's no harm in doing that. Okay. So within my clinic, I have several shampoos and conditioners, because no hair type is the same. No two hair types are the same. I don't tend to find that I would use the same system or protocol for the same for 2 or 3 clients in a day. It's highly unlikely. And so if that is the case, I always say that if you're going to see a professional, it's really highly important that you kind of do your due diligence to see how well versed they are in dealing with your hair, because of the fact that if they don't have the right tools to help you out, you don't stand a chance, really. If you go to see someone and they've only got 1 or 2 shampoos and conditioners at their back bar, the chances are they're not prepared for any eventuality that may occur. That includes your hair change that may naturally occur. Okay, so no 2 hair types are the same, and you as a human being will go through hair changes. That goes for the skin as well. No skin type is the same, and you as a human being will also go through skin changes. So I mentioned my family, they're just misbehaving still. I'm so sorry, guys. If you can see them, I don't know whether to apologize, because this could happen again. I can't apologize if it isn't going to, if it is going to happen again. So I just have to say, if you see people crawling around on the floor, it is my sister and my daughter. So if you see them, just say hi, and hopefully that will make them stop. But one of the significant changes that occur in the skin is, for example, fine lines and wrinkles. Okay, so that's a change that can happen. So that's a skin, it's a skin change in the skin type that you have. So you may have normal skin, but suddenly you have now got fine lines and wrinkles. in the skin. That's a change that we need to address. We don't continue using the skin products that we've been using when, we didn't have fine lines and wrinkles, because it won't serve a purpose. And so you will then say, well, my product isn't working anymore. It isn't that the product isn't working. It's just that you are no longer the right candidate for that product. That product is no longer marketed to you. It is now marketed to somebody else, and that's not you. You now need to look for a product that is formulated and branded or marketed to you and your skin type. And the only way to make sure that you're doing that is to get to know your skin. You get to analyze your skin either yourself, by being really conscious of what is happening to your skin. So becoming well versed and be able to articulate the skin issues that you're facing, so that you can communicate that with a professional, or that you can use that to help yourself in the product selection process, right? So by knowing what is happening to you, you're able to identify it. You're able to go into retail stores and look at a product, bearing in mind that you're not just looking at the product on the front. You're going to turn the product, you're going to read the ingredients, you're going to read what the manufacturer is saying about the product, how they formulated it, who is it for, and you're going to be able to analyze that and know that that is for you or not for you. Okay, so that's really important for you to note. That's my big sister, guys. That's my older sister. Listen, they saw you. Too late. So, I'm so sorry. I'm supposed to be professional in serious, but there's no chance of that happening. So, you're going to make sure you're using your knowledge about your skin and your hair. The purpose of my live streaming and my educational videos that I'm making is so that is to empower you to become your own scientist about yourself. So you get to know everything about your bodies. Even if you don't know what is happening and you need help, you'll be able to articulate the things that are happening to you to the professional, so that you can get the best outcome and you get the best help from the people who know what they're doing. Okay, so when you go to see someone and they're using these terminologies, you're able to understand them. But also, when you're also looking at your skin at home and you're caring for your skin or caring for your hair, you know what you're looking for. You start to know what you're looking for. It helps not just for you to look after yourself, but it also helps when you go to see a professional that you're able to describe these things for them so that they can help you better. Okay. So that is why I have several shampoos and conditioners in my clinic, because it is important. It is so important that we care for the hair and scalp in a proper manner that actually fixes issues, rather than just using any shampoo and conditioner. So if you're going to see someone who's a professional and they only have one shampoo and conditioner, or two shampoos and conditioners at their back bar in their business, that is not the place for you to be in. It means that they are not ready for you. So they already have preempted that your hair is going to be this type without seeing it, without testing it, and that is unfair. So make sure that you go to places that are ready for you, right? Okay, so I want to also discuss some things that we can do to look after our hair in particular. So yesterday, I think I mentioned a lot of things about the skin, and today I want to talk about how to look after your hair, making sure that you are maintaining healthy hair, right? So there's this discussion about air drying that is happening online. It's on social media, and people are not sure whether it's good for them or not. There's an argument about whether our ancestors engaged in such a thing, and if they did, how healthy were their hair? What is it that we're doing now by using heat on our hair, for example? So this discussion is going back and forth. My position on the matter is fairly simple. We do not live back in the 1800s. We're here now. We know better. We seek to do better. If you are wanting to air dry your hair, for example, because you want to avoid heat at all cost to maintain the health of your hair, I'm all for it. It is an amazing thing to do. Heat avoidance is brilliant because it does help you to retain proteins and the moisture levels in your hair. So if you're not having heat in your hair, it is a great thing. What you must make sure that you are ensuring that your scalp is dry when you wash your hair. So say you wash your hair today, don't expect that by the end of the day tomorrow or the day after your hair is still wet. That is not a good ground, or it's not a good system for your scalp to live in for that prolonged period of time. Okay, so you must try and get your hair dry, or at least your scalp dry, within an hour or two, as quickly as you can. Just get that scalp dry. Even if your hair's still wet, that can dry over time. It's just that the scalp in itself cannot remain wet. And in fact, the hair can't remain wet for too long either. So if you're air drying, keep that going. It's great to do, but you must make sure that it is happening as quickly as you can. And also, one thing to bear in mind is that back in those days, the climate was completely different. We now have a lot of pollution, more cars on the road, and things like that. So our hair and scalp being wet or being left in a wet state only will leave room for attraction of pollution to the scalp and hair. So just be mindful of that when you're sort of air drying your hair and not using heated tools. I also wanted to talk about the fact that we don't spend as much time outdoors as we used to. In the olden days, we are always inside of our homes. We've got air conditioning systems. We have got central heating systems, for example. We're not spending enough time outside. And so air drying can sometimes cause a bit of an issue if you're not really going out into the fresh air. So when you've decided that you're wanting to retain your hair's natural strength and health by not using any heated tools, this is just a caveat. Well, this is just bonus point to today's live, which is that try and make sure that you keep your scalp dry, because it will be a breeding ground for mold, mildew, bacteria, and that just leads to a lot of infections into the scalp that will then damage the hair follicle. So making sure that your scalp is dry is important. Another thing to note is that if you're using occlusives, so you're using things that kind of create a barrier on the scalp, that also must be something you must try and avoid, especially if you're engaged in air drying practices. Okay, so I've already spoken about this in the previous lives where I discussed the fact that oils and occlusives and things like that do not actually shouldn't stay on the scalp. It shouldn't be put on the scalp and left there. We encourage that when you put it on the scalp, if it is formulated for the scalp, that is, you leave it on for a maximum of maybe half an hour or so, and that product must be washed off the hair and scalp. So just for treatment purposes only. So even more so when you're air drying your hair, you cannot leave heavy, thick occlusives or products that aren't formulated for the scalp, on the scalp for a prolonged period of time, because it will become a breeding ground for bacteria and mildew and mold. Yes, mold can grow on your scalp. We've had cases where that has happened. I want to finish today's live by saying that, with regards to matters of hair loss and things like that, we are still learning. We are still learning. And so with this sort of way of imparting my knowledge on, I hope that any updated opinions that is shared with us within the science space, it gives me an opportunity to come on and share that with you. Okay, so research is still happening. Research is being conducted all the time regarding these matters. So by me being here, it gives you the opportunity to hear about updated opinions and researches that help us in debunking some of these things to do with our hair, scalp, and skin. So on that note, I'm going to say God bless you, good night, and goodbye.